Welcome to WebRTC Tips by WebRTC.ventures. I'm Aaron Syme, CEO and founder at WebRTC.ventures. And in today's WebRTC Tip, Mariana Lopez, who is our COO at WebRTC.ventures, will talk with us about delivering great experiences in WebRTC apps. This comes from WebRTC Live, episode number 78, where we had a panel discussion with members of our team about 3 things we've learned building WebRTC applications recently. So let's hear from Mariana about UX in WebRTC apps.
Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about delivering great experience in WebRTC apps and some of the things that we learn and that we try to incorporate in all of our projects to make sure that when you're using this, it really is a good experience. And we're going to talk a little bit about it being seamless and intuitive, receiving clear and timely feedback, optimizing for differences, conquering the tricky terrain that is, network bandwidth, and connecting with other people. And then finally talk a little bit about privacy. So Aaron, if you want to go to the next slide. When we talk about being seamless and intuitive, technology's great and all the amazing things that we can do with WebRTC, but we want to try to always be human-centric and understand that the focus of the experience should be on that communication, collaboration that's happening with people, and how can we make that be the star of the show, make it be the important bit, and have the interactions be seamless, be almost invisible, and allow you to focus on the experience, allowing users to interact without a distraction. And what I mean by that is controls for muting, sharing your video, sharing your audio, sharing your screen, looking at other elements that you bring in should be so easy that you don't even think about it. The choice of icons that you use, right? You don't want somebody to think they're muted when they're sharing that audio. That's going to be a terrible experience for you and for everybody in the call around you. If we go to the next slide, clear and timely feedback. So whenever we talk about web design or application design, feedback is important in any application. But WebRTC requires just thinking about it in a next level, because you don't only need feedback on your state, you also need feedback on the people that are all connecting with you. So is somebody trying to join the call? Is somebody muted? Is somebody sharing their video or not? These are kinds of things that you also have to give feedback on, because they make or break the experience. You need to have those visual indicators or audio cues if you're doing a web or an audio call, to let the user know and others that you're connected, that you're experiencing technical issues. All these feedback things are going to make or break the experience. When we've done proof of concepts, really small applications that we're just testing out, one of the most typical things that we find is people saying like, oh, the app is buggy or it's not working properly. And when we go to debug, when we go to test it out, it's because they're having network issues or they're having problems with just the nature of this being a live application. And when you don't give feedback, when you don't tell users, hey, you're experiencing a bad network connection, what they assume is that their bad experience is due to bad programming or bad implementation, when actually it might just be the conditions of where you're connecting from. If we go to the next application, the next thing is optimizing for differences. So people are going to be connecting with different network connections, with different bandwidth, different quality of what they're seeing, and you have to optimize for that. You have to account for it when you're building it. You have to think of, how do we downgrade the quality if your network isn't great, or how do we show somebody sharing their video in a mobile device on a desktop computer. You want to make sure that you account for that in different viewports, that you also think about, well, I might be looking at myself in a square, but am I sharing just that square, or am I sharing the entire rectangle, and am I sharing things in my periphery that I don't want to share? So I think that that's really important when we're trying to show you what you're sharing. And then finally, when we talk about differences, it's really important that not all users are the same. Our end users can come from all walks of life, and we have to think about accessibility. And especially in video, how do we incorporate that in? And there's really a lot of great technology that can help us empower that. For example, live captioning that you can add in, and you can, make sure that everything's accessible. conquering a tricky terrain. I've mentioned this, but you have to enable a great experience in WebRTC. You have to think about everything that will go wrong, because it will. So people having issues entering a call, giving just permissions to your mic, to your video. How do you make that a great experience? How do you make a great experience to reconnect after a failure? If you receive a phone call and you're using your mobile application, how do you connect back into that video call as well? What happens if your connection drops? How you let people give feedback to you and to your participants in the same call that happened. If there's gaps in audio or video because of a choppy connection, if from all of a sudden audio is not being shared. These are just examples of things that have happened to us, and that we need to design for that. And we need to make sure that we work with engineers to deliver great experiences, even if you are experiencing network issues. The next and final part of it is, whenever we're talking about video applications and audio, there's a really important component, which is part of like human concerns, which we need to think about. And the table stakes of what you can do in WebRTC is so great that we can now start thinking about this. But it's privacy, is reducing audio noise. Am I only sharing the audio that I want to share, or are you hearing everything that's happening around me? Same with like background options, right? Can we remove or blur your background? You don't necessarily want to give somebody entire access to your context, but you would still want to have that video call. Managing the devices that you're connecting to. So do you want to connect with a front camera, a back camera? All of this is really important for privacy. As well, I would always recommend adding in that waiting room experience where you can check your audio, check your video before you join that call. And that also allows you to have like that extra security of who's joining your call. You don't want unwanted participants. We all heard of terrible experiences from people like joining something that they were not supposed to. So those are just some of the things that we consider. Thank you for your time.
That's it for this WebRTC tip from WebRTC Ventures. If you're interested in learning more, be sure to follow us on social media at WebRTC Ventures. Visit our website at WebRTC.ventures, where you can learn more about our services. We'd be happy to help you assess, build, integrate, test, deploy, and manage your custom WebRTC-based communications application. So check us out at WebRTC.ventures to learn more, and let's make it live.